Hello, everybody, and welcome to Que Pasa. This is a podcast of the Great Plains Baptist Association. And today we have a wonderful guest with us who I've really been looking forward to talking to, Pastor Dr. Steve Havener. Steve, how are you today?
Well, I'm doing pretty good today.
Doing pretty good.
Yeah, I'm kind of half-hearted about things. But...
Yeah, that's what I hear. Hey, today let's talk about how you came to Christ as your personal Savior and Lord. Okay.
But I can remember the moment. I don't know the date, but I do know it was a Sunday morning. Brother Melvin Hoffman was the pastor at Southern Heights Baptist Church in El Reno, Oklahoma. And I was 5 years old, almost 6, summer before I was 6. And, I'd watched my mom and my dad and my grandmother and just watched how they lived their lives, and went to church I had a drug problem. Our parents would drug us to church every time the doors are open. And my dad would make things up so we could go to church during the week. And so we would go and I just came to the realization that I needed Jesus. I heard the preacher, I didn't really know what sin entailed, but I knew I needed Jesus to get into heaven. And so there on the front steps of Southern Heights Baptist Church in El Reno, Oklahoma, Brother Melvin Hoffman, while people were going around us, he led me to Christ right there. Wow. And, I struggled with that as a kid and as a young man. And when I was about 20, 22, something like that, I finally just said, Lord, reveal to me when I invited you. I know I'm saved. I know I am. But when? And so he took me back to that day, and I've never forgotten that day. And just the feeling of understanding that I didn't have to worry about what this world held, that I could go and be with the Lord, So I've looked forward to that since then.
I think a lot of times we think, well, our child's too young. But, man, when you grow up in the church,
yeah.
And you've been in the church your whole life, you know that Jesus died on the cross, and you know that he died for you, and you know that he rose again.
Yeah.
And then sin is really kind of confusing because, sin's doing wrong, but to him that knoweth to do good and does it not, to him it is sin. So it's not doing what you ought to do too.
Exactly.
And so it's understandable. I was 6 years old when I came to Christ as my Savior. And so I get that. And there are some people that nail it down as they get older, but if you know, you know.
You know, yeah.
And I really like what Keith Wigington said one day at Elk City First Baptist Church during a revival. He said, for some people, accepting Christ is like crossing a creek. Yeah. Not a big deal. You just kind of skip across because you grew up in church and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's like swimming across Lake Lugert or Foss Lake or something like that. It was a struggle.
Right.
The point is you've got to get across and come to Christ as your Savior.
Exactly.
And so you have that, and obviously God's been working in your life ever since.
He has. And, I tried to run from him, but, I found out every time you run from God, Mike Warnke says you run into God.
That's right.
And so that's a plan.
Well, if you're watching today and you've never come to Christ as your Savior, or maybe you were young and you did, and you're still kind of struggling, hey, nail that down. I know that Pastor Steve, he would be happy to talk to you. Give us a call. Contact him at First Baptist Church Leedey in Leedey, Oklahoma. Hey, thank you for watching today, and God bless you.